Let's talk about Halloween Kills. The nightmare isn't over as unstoppable killer Michael Myers escapes from Laurie Strode's trap to continue his ritual bloodbath. Taking matters into their own hands, the Strode women and other survivors form a vigilante mob to hunt down Michael and end his reign of terror once and for all. I've been eagerly waiting for this movie for about 3 years because I am one of the few who is a big advocate for Halloween 2018. I don't think it's a perfect movie, but I love a lot of the ideas that it established and introduced, and I think it was a great follow-up to continue the franchise in a more natural and conclusive direction. It definitely has more of this solid foundation to it that just only makes sense to where the first Halloween ended up. I don't always agree necessarily with how many films they actually canceled out, but I do think for the better it was to do so, and so I was excited to see where they would go with Halloween Kills, what direction they would take it in. And I gotta say, if you were coming into this movie expecting brutality, then you're going to get what you want, because it definitely succeeds in that area. It is the most gruesome film within the franchise when it comes to the blood, the guts, and the overall gore. Michael Myers does not give two craps about anyone, and he is more of a force of nature than ever before. Michael Myers 100% worked here. I think his character design, again, it's just so well figured and established, and I think that they've definitely done a great job at aging him up and just showing how he's been through the ringer. But I love the fact that his character has also progressed in the way that he's gone through a ton, and he's got a little bit more wear and tear to show for it, but he's not done. If anything, he's more powerful than ever, and they sort of established it at the end of Halloween 2018, talking about how he's a force of nature. He could be more than just a man, because behind his eyes, it's nothing but lifeless terror who he wants to see the destruction of everyone around him. The kills are very well executed. It's brilliantly choreographed, pieced together, and it's definitely exciting to watch. Some of the moments are cringeworthy, not in a bad way, but to the fact where you're jumping in your seat because it pains you to watch, just because of how intense the kills actually were. It definitely has the highest body count of any Halloween movie today. Depending on who you are, that could be a great thing or a really, really bad thing. You just got to know what it is going into it. John Carpenter returns along with Cody Carpenter and Daniel Davies to provide the composition here, and I gotta say that he was probably my favorite part of the movie. It takes those accentuated moments from the original, those iconic nuances, it puts that in there. It borrows from what was established in 2018, but it also adds so many new elements that just enhance the vengeful atmosphere of the film. So many people are out for blood in this movie, and so the score only complements those moments and really just enhances them. So anytime there's a moment of tension or suspense, the score ramps up to level 13 and you feel it in your bones, even in the moments to where not everyone else was really doing anything special, where the script was crappy or the progression was just not the way I wanted it to be. At least I could always rely on that score to come through, and it was top notch, as you could only expect with John Carpenter. Unfortunately, that's where my positives end, because everything else about this movie I was incredibly frustrated by. This was a massive letdown for me. It was one of my most anticipated movies of the year, so maybe my expectations were set a bit too high, a bit too unrealistic, but I didn't need much. I didn't have to have much happen here for me to at least enjoy it enough, but it was just more frustrating beyond anything else. And I'm gonna have to do a spoiler review for this because there are so many things I want to talk about, just pick apart, because I have a lot of issues with this movie that just ruined it for me. I appreciated Halloween 2018 because it established a lot of different ideas that were very unique and incredibly interesting to expand upon within this universe. It gave us new thoughts about who Michael Myers is as a character, as well as just the lineage of Laurie Strode and her family that was so interesting. I couldn't wait to see that explored more. Like I said, there was issues with Halloween 2018, but here, it's like they doubled down on all the stuff that did not work with Halloween 2018 and totally pushed aside the stuff that I wanted to see, that really did work, that was interesting to develop and continue in this new trilogy. Halloween 2018 brilliantly established this idea of generational trauma and how the events that could happen in Laurie Strode's childhood could affect what could happen in her granddaughter's childhood. That it has the ripple effect that no matter how connected somebody is, that because they're related to somebody who went through that trauma, it's going to ultimately impact them whether Michael comes back or not. And they really explored that very well. And I love the way that they ended up in that movie where it seemed like he came back, they were put through the ringer, and it seemed like they were prepared for the worst. That even though they thought he was dead, that if he came back, they would know what to do. But for some reason in this film, they decided to split the entire crew apart, and all of their knowledge and all of the skills that they had learned and picked up along the way, they totally forgot about them, and it's like they were starting back at square one. Even more frustrating than that is the fact that Laurie Strode is the mainstay within this franchise, and you're going to tell me that you're going to put her to the sideline almost the entire time of this film and give her absolutely nothing to do. Unfortunately, Jamie Lee Curtis was the most underwhelming part of this film, and it's not necessarily her fault. It's because her character was given absolutely nothing except for plenty of moments to reminisce on her past, while Andi Matichak and Judy Greer were out in action doing their job, while they both made stupid decisions along the way, just like everybody else in this movie. At least they made somewhat of an impact. At least they tried. The film tried to do a lot to satisfy the franchise fans. It was massive when it came to fan service and the things they implemented to flash back to moments that we remember early on, or give us a little bit of clues or hints to other films in the franchise that, while they're not connected to this new universe, there's still a little bit of homage paid to those. But fan service was really just shoved down your throat in this movie in a way that was also not effective whatsoever. Another way that they did that was bring back characters like Tommy Doyle, like the nurse from the first one, other characters that had that impact, that were impacted by the involvement of Michael Myers in Halloween 1978. They come back, they form a mob, and they're going out for revenge against Michael. Except the problem is, the majority of this film, they're separated from Michael, and they're causing more trouble against themselves than anyone else. I think they're trying to establish the negative impact of mob mentality and what can happen when a group of people come together for the right reasons but don't necessarily have the same structured plans and ideas of how to execute, and they end up going against each other and causing more carnage without the involvement of the initial idea of why they came together. And there was something said about how they are causing so much chaos and Michael is not even around. But that was the problem. They band together to fight against Michael, and they don't even meet Michael until the very end of this movie. Instead, it's filled with plenty of self-destruction, a lot of chaos that is caused by the inner circle, and a lot of miscommunications that lead to some very dumb mistakes and just stupid outcomes. While servicing the fans by bringing back these characters we know, I feel like it was more of a detriment to the film than anything, because they're really made to look very just ignorant and very unqualified for the situation at hand. And I don't know if that was intentional. I know that it's a history with slasher films that the characters within it don't necessarily make the right decisions, but they took it so seriously within the script that I don't think it was purposeful. I just truly believe that David Gordon Green didn't know a clear direction of what he wanted to do with this film, and it's really just a gap to get to Halloween Ends. That this was complete filler that had no sense of direction, no sense of identity, and it was just a massive waste of time. It's tonally inconsistent and truthfully just feels like a culmination of a bunch of random scenes picked from different Halloween fan films on YouTube and stuck together in a very incoherent way, because a lot of the scenes within this movie don't even feel like they belong at all. Seeing Michael Myers kill a bunch of people is a ton of fun for the most part, but when it comes to this movie, the way it was done a lot of the times was very overboard and very unnecessary. I don't know how many times throughout this film there were these characters that were introduced or these comedic bits that went on for way too long that were so separated from the main plot that you could tell the only point was to establish this place for Michael Myers to come in, kill them in some brutal way that was cool in the moment, but when you look at it from a bird's eye view, it's like what the heck. What was the point? I truly believe it's just because they didn't know the direction they were going with this story, so they filled in the gaps with a bunch of these senseless moments. Something that worked about Halloween 1978, something that's always been incredibly effective about Michael Myers, is at the end of the day, he is very methodical. He does kill people brutally, and it's nasty, and it can be hard to watch, but he normally has a plan behind it, and they're constantly trying to rework what his plan might actually be and give a motivation to his character, but they change the path of what they feel like this motivation is multiple times throughout the film, to where it's like they don't even know what he's doing. They don't even know why he's doing this, and their excuses and their ideas that they are giving to his character just bog down what makes him so special, what makes the nuanced ideas introduced in Halloween 1978 so effective. I know I'm gonna get comments saying this is the middle film in a trilogy. Relax, this is only the bridge to a conclusive ending. But you know what? If that's the fact, don't even make this movie. Give me 2 movies. Give me Halloween 2018 and Halloween Ends, because we got no further at the end of this movie than we were at the end of Halloween 2018. There was a complete lack of progression, a complete lack of realization, and nobody learned any lessons. If anything, they got dumber. If anything, they took a few steps back instead of a couple steps forward. I came out of Halloween 2018 incredibly optimistic, not only because I enjoyed that movie, but because I knew that there were subtle things that they could improve on, and that the direction that they were going, the momentum that they gained after that movie was so positive, I only saw it going up from there. And that's saying something, because again, I feel like Halloween 2018 was a very solid movie. Now, coming out of Halloween Kills, I'm very nervous to see how they actually conclude this trilogy as a whole, and I've already heard talks about them wanting to expand the universe past Halloween Ends. I think Halloween Ends is where they need to really put on the brakes and just take a long hiatus from this franchise, or not really revisit it again, because there's been too many times to where they've given us these sequels and they've tried to improve upon things, and then they will gain momentum and then lose it completely. And I'm afraid that that's about to happen again, because Halloween Kills really ended on such a sour note and really disappointed me as a fan, that I'm afraid that they're not going to be able to stick the landing. So guys, with all that being said, I'm going to have to give Halloween Kills, unfortunately, a 4 out of 10. But guys, as always, make sure to comment down below. Let me know, are you excited for this film? Let me know your anticipation level down below. And if you've seen it already, what did you think? Do you think I'm overreacting? Did you enjoy the movie? Are you in the same boat as me? Tell me where your opinions lie. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for your continuous support. I will have a spoiler review as well as a ranking of the franchise coming soon, because I want to talk about Halloween more any way that I can. Halloween is still one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Michael Myers is my favorite slasher. So even though I was let down by this movie, there is still plenty to love and plenty that I'm a fan of within this franchise. So I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. But until next time, I'll see y'all later. Peace out.